on L.
Yo guys, it's Conroe here.
What's up, everyone? This is Dirty Phonics.
Hey, this is Subs and Slurs.
Phase 1 complete. Assembling family members.
Hi everyone, this is Ed listening from the beautiful city of London.
Hey guys, this is Dwayne from Oklahoma. Family assembled. We have liftoff.
That's a bad kitty.
Welcome to Call of the Wild. An exploration of sound with the latest electronic music. With nothing to hold us back, these are the songs of the wild.
And we're off. Chris,
Can you hear me good?
we can hear you now.
Well, that's perfect. So welcome to the CVR World Cup postseason. As you hear, Frank's on this cast, as am I, Dr. Chris Haskell. This is week number 3, and things are really heating up. We're going to see who's in the finals here today by the end of the day. We're going to bring you a couple of head-to-head matchups in this race, which we'll talk very specifically about. This is pretty exciting stuff. This event happened many times throughout the day. This is, of course, Division F, Zone F, if you will, in the postseason, the CVR postseason. Mattis, can we talk about Deegan and Fowler, which you and I called last week? What about Muldoon and Workman? Which of these races looks to be the most exciting to you, Frank Garcia?
Hey, Chris. We've got a couple of very exciting races today. We've got in both in the A brackets. We've got Piotr Srzinski and Jaro Nefkins going head to head. And on the women's side, we've got Anna Barbado and Jenny Mattis. And so I think I've got my audio all figured out here. I was confusing myself with too much tech, but I think we're set now.
That is always the problem when you're pushing the limits on what you've done before. I like it as well. The Barbado, the PTZ versus the Vixen team. This is going to be really interesting. Fleur Kessels last week was who Anna beat up on. Well, beat up on. That would be the Zone E race. And she took down Kessels last week, a name that we know really well. In Zone G, Jenny had a bye to advance to this round, but she is here nonetheless. But that's not the only women's race. That's just the women's A race. Sandra Deegan and Amy Fowler, 2 races we called last week. Really exciting. Sandra beat Carissa Min in a very exciting race. Carissa Min just did a little bit too much too early. And Amy beat Catherine Salvatierra, which was a really great race to watch. Now, as we are looking at this one shape up here, yeah, you see these pieces. Dixie Newsom, Barb Creasel advanced in the other bracket. We'll talk about who is advancing to the final in just a little bit. But Anna Barbado and Jenny Mattis in this race, definitely 2 to watch. Exciting. Now, on the top, you have one race, right? Jaro Nefkins, Piotr Srzinski. Boy, tricky to say each time. But I got a chance to sit down with him in London and just verify that I was close, right? I just wanted to be close in the pronunciation of his name. He is surrounded, as you can see, by Team Poland. They continue to work for him in what could be one of the most exciting elements of this race. Now, we did not expect that it was going to be so much so early, right, where we actually have teams putting it together. But it's what's happened. They rally around their friends, their compatriots, and they do the work. They help to bring their folks to the front. Nefkins benefited quite a bit last week from Scotty Weiss. I've been calling him Scotty Weiss. His name is Don't Call Me Scotty Weiss. So Scotty Weiss doing a nice job last week helping Nefkin really get away in that race. It was exciting to watch so many different folks there. And these are the folks who are going to continue to advance. 2 of these folks, one in the men's race, one in the women's race, will come to the top. We will bring you these 2 A stories, but they're not the only stories that are happening today. As I mentioned, this F race should also be featuring, we'll double check and see if they made the start, Sandra Deegan and Amy Fowler battling it out, as well as Cheryl Muldoon and Vivian Workman. That would be the women's B category and the women's C category. So I hope that they're lined up because that will be a fun race to call. But we see it like we see at the very beginning of it, just hard work at the very beginning. No one wants to get left behind. Nefkin well supported. Srzinski Also in that group, even better support. As we look at those jerseys, the Team Poland jersey is one of the handful of national jerseys visible in the game. Team Poland has been very active in Zwift since the very beginning in virtual cycling, and they have been rewarded with such. So this is where this is going to hang out. So, Frank, let's talk a little bit, if we can, about this course today. If they haven't been watching things throughout the day, what are we looking at here as far as a course?
What we've seen today is 5 very hard climbs. Usually this climb is sort of the intermediate climb, if you will. It's the climb that a Frank Garcia might be able to do and stick with the bunch, but not today. In every race that I have watched, it has been fireworks, especially on the first 3 climbs of the day. Maybe the 4th one a little bit backed off, and then fireworks again on the 5th. So this is 5 hard climbs coming to us today.
Now, if you're Jero Nefkins, one of the things that you want to do is you want to move early and often. As I look around, I look for the WBR, specifically that race WBR jersey in the group. I don't see any others floating around there. There could be teammates that are wearing different jerseys today, maybe sneaking in there with the Zwift gray, maybe the Zwift, Century black, the actual, Statute Century black jersey. The metric, of course, being the white, but I don't see any other Team WBR folks. So the strategy for him, I would think, would be to separate Piotr Szynski from his teammates. Team Poland, you do not want those guys in the group because they are going to beat up on him over time. Szynski comes to the front here, right on the tail of, it looks like Luris, and they are digging hard right here coming up the first climb. You weren't kidding, Frank Garcia. This is happening right now. They are throwing it on the first climb, trying to get some separation. The Team Poland rider drifts off the back just a little bit. Can't catch his name right now. That's pretty exciting stuff. It looks like Lemire, who is in the second spot right there. But Nefkins trying to get away right now, or at least put his competitors in a spot of bother. As I mentioned, he wants to shed that extra weight in the brand of Team Poland. He wants a couple of those riders off the back. And as we look over his shoulder, great camera angle from our awesome camera crew out there on a virtual motorcycle, just making sure that we are getting the images to you that we need to. We've also got folks up in the virtual helicopter right now. That's exciting as well. Now, that looks like they're not going to break too many off the back. It's always interesting to see who the wreckage will be. Now, as we look down that list, we see the Polish flags right where you would expect them to be. They've got their guys surrounded. I count 2 right now, Szynski being one of those. Oh, I see a third one there as well. Szynski is yes, Krzyzwanis in there, who's a name we've called a little bit before. He's in that group, and he's going to be part of this big push. He's got to protect his teammate. So the way I see it is that Szynski has 2 teammates that are right there with him to help him out. Nefkins appears to be alone, but he doesn't need anybody else. He's drilling it on the front of this. So, Frank, as we come through the banner here in just a minute, how many PRs are we going to see on this first lap? What do you think? What's your number? My number probably is 7. Anybody who crosses with this group is probably going to have a PR on this climb because they have never done it this fast. It is insane. Szynski right there for Team Poland. He is sitting right in the group, but it's Nefkins who's doing all the work instigating this race on the front. The ride-ons begin to fall. People are watching, checking this out, which is really, really cool. So they're going to come up and over here in just a second, Frank. They're going to have that banner. How many of these folks are going to have blown their PR out of the water?
Oh, I think probably, I don't know, 10 or 12. We've seen times right at about 3 minutes and 30 seconds today on the climb. That's very, very fast. That is certainly the strongmen of Zwift and the times that they do it, especially when they're in a group. We've seen some sub 3:30s, just barely, but those are some amazing time frames. But we've usually seen those times either on the first or third climb.
Yep. We should point out right here, they're getting ready to come over the top. Not a lot of change, but we are seeing a big change in this women's A race. Jen Mattis from Team Vixen has managed to find herself off the back of this. And Anna Barbado from the PTZ finds herself ahead by what looks to be about 6 spots in their group. Now, that appears to also be, oh gosh, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 seconds. That is not where she wants to be. Jen does not want to be in that spot. She's got to catch on here, but she's seeing much lower overall output than her compatriot right now. Well, I take that back. Much higher maybe than her compatriot. This is interesting to watch here. Barbado doing everything that she can at the front of her race, sitting 45th in her group. Mattis sitting 51st. That is not what she wants. But if you look, PTZ has another rider in the group. Jones is sitting on the wheel, sitting in front here and letting Barbado sit on his wheel. That is what the team tactics are all about, and they have managed to escape a little bit. Now, if Team Vixen wants to do something, it looks like Muldoon is down there with Mattis, doing a nice job of keeping her in, but it's now 25 seconds. 2 duos. I love this kind of racing. Get a buddy, line up, and see what you can do together. It's way, way more fun. Good job. Muldoon letting that gap just a little bit. Mattis with the great, beautiful pink socks and a little bit of a mohawk trying to do what she can to stay on the wheel of her teammate. Now, she's got to cover that 25 seconds. We'll see if she is able to do it. Okay. These folks racing, they all started out together. Mattis, Barbado, Nefkins, Szerzynski, and they're coming under the banner right now. Looks to be about 12 and a half minutes. 12:28 is they pass through here, and lots of confetti flies because that is a personal 30-day best for most of these riders. Not surprising. Okay, they're trying to break this thing up, but it is not working. Nefkins finds himself now comfortably in the group. It seems like he likes to instigate this, Frank, on the climbs. He's comfortable sitting in on the flats, but when the pitch goes up, he tries to kick this into overdrive. Is that his secret weapon here? Just hang out until it goes up and then unleash the Kraken?
I think it is, and I think what we've seen today is this is definitely a war of attrition. We've seen some breaks succeed, and Nefkins is playing the aggressive card and wants to say, I'm the strong man, and I'm going to go up these hills, and I'm going to introduce some pain and depletion into your legs, and by the time we do it the 5th time around, I'm going to just leave you behind.
Very, very interesting that that Team Poland is not the one doing the instigating. They definitely have it. Now, Nefkins has no benefit of chasing just a random Team Poland rider, and you can bet that he is focused on the right side of his screen, making sure that he is in contact at all times with Szerzynski. Szerzynski, a veteran of CVR events. He was in CVR World Cup London. Got to meet him there, did nice work there. Strong rider, definitely deserves to be on that stage. But Szerzynski finds himself climbing a ladder in a different way, trying to qualify in a different way. Now, as these folks start to engage in the S's, worth pointing out that you see Barbado at the bottom of the hill. She's just crossed over the bridge. Now we'll come under the bridge. Jen Mattis on her teammate's wheel, still trying to catch on. See if they can do some things on the flat here to maybe pull this back a little bit. Yes, it's about 25 seconds or so, but they can do this.
I'm very interested in this. So they've got a little help up here in PTZ with a couple more riders, which could be how they're going to save the day. But as we look at both of these riders and their heart rates, what we note is they're actually quite high. And here you have Mattis recovering a little bit. You've got Cheryl with her. And I think what you're going to see here is if they don't overcook it, and that's something that's hard to do here, you could see Anna overcook it and then have to really back off. We've seen that happen in the past. So this will be very interesting to watch this develop. They're both obviously going all out, head to head today. A ticket is getting one step closer to a ticket to CVR World Cup in June, and so these people are going very, very hard.
Yes, you are not kidding. So Jaron Nefkins, if you just missed it, decided on the uphill that he was going to put out some pain. He just grabbed that pint of pain and just poured it out on the road and showed everybody what it was, and put them just kind of in a pickle again. Now, as we look at Nefkins, we can tell he's doing hard work, but maybe not as hard as Szerzynski, who seems to be about 5 ticks higher. Again, that could be something related to the age of these two riders and their max heart rate. They're starting to settle in about the same. Szerzynski pocketed by his folks. But if you look down that line, you'll see some folks who did not make this cut. There are a number of A group riders, Griffiths, Waddle, Trigel, who were all in that group in the beginning, who have been shed off the back. They've been dropped like shells, specifically like a walnut shell or peanut shell on the floor. They could not hang with these guys. Nefkin now just kind of hanging out in this group. As we think about how Nefkin got here, which is a real important consideration to make. I mean, what's the path of these guys? He has continued to show that he belongs here every week. Last week he beat a couple. Excuse me. That's who Piotr beat. Krzywanis was actually the winner of that head-to-head. Maybe you can explain a little bit more than that. He ended up having to remove himself from contention. Jeffrey Creel also in that group. But Jero beat Alex Dion and then Eric Hung. And that Eric Hung match was an exciting one. So what helps what Szerzynski, what it's been a little off and on for him, I think, too.
Yeah, I think what you got is 2 Team Poland riders, and one got sick and went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, no, I don't think you should be racing super hard. And so he opted not to continue on in the postseason. He had 48 hours after your first race to agree to continue on, and so he opted out. And perfect situation for Team Poland. That allowed Team Poland to put Piotr in, and in an amazing race last week, by half a wheel, he got past Jeffrey Creel, and so it was Team Poland against the world of vision, and there was a lot of people.
A lot of people. That's been such an interesting characteristic of this postseason, hasn't it? All of the people who show up to help.
Absolutely, and you see that here. I'm looking at Cheryl, and I showed a little bit of them streaming here.
Yes.
Working hard for each other. Pulling together, and it changes the dynamics. We saw this last week where somebody was out front, and then somebody chased him down, and then went beyond, and then the other person chased him down, and then it switched on the last climb. And that's what teammates do for you.
Yes.
One of the things that you can't do when you have a teammate is just give up, because the teammates they're working hard for you, and you've got to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. You can't pull the plug in the same way that you can if it's just you on the bike. And I love that about it. It creates so much interest in what's going on in the event. Right? You just don't know. It's not your legs versus my legs. It's what can we assemble together. And that is really nice. Some people have pushed back saying, gosh, I don't think this belongs here. It's not something that we're interested, but I think that's silly. This is much more fun to watch as Jaron Nefkins tries to put a little pain on the climb, but he's not the only one. His teammates are doing the work. By his, I mean Szerzynski. He's the one animating the front of this race. Now slides to the back. Lemire, the Canadian rider, in there for Team QC. They want to win today. They don't care about this bracket. This team wants to deliver a win for their team and show up the 2 riders from WBR and from Team Poland. They want their own name at the top of the podium, and you know what? They may just get it today. Nefkins comes to the front again. That cannot be good for him. He might be superhuman. We're not entirely sure. But as he comes to the front here, there's some others who'd like to have that front. Let's see if he kicks it. Lemire pushes off the front now. Skinner also trying to just assert their dominance, or maybe it was a drift by. Szerzynski doing what he can to stay up at the front. Krzywanis also in this race, making sure that his guy is taken care of. Now, this is the second time up the climb. We saw fireworks after Hanks, as we have before. Oh, that's got to startle a rider going slow on the side. But they are, no one is really getting away. Each time I expect we'll lose another strong rider who just didn't have it on that climb. The rubber band snaps, or you find yourself on the wrong side of the gap and you're not the guy to close it. I know a lot about that position myself. Extra tail gunner on the very back. But as we look at the race of the women's A here, we're seeing Jen Mattis now coming through Sprint Town. She's not that much further behind Barbado here, the PTZ rider.
One of the things that you'll notice here is the teamwork on PTZ. They're sort of locked there wheel to wheel. And what you're getting from Mattis and Muldoon is gaps forming, right?
Yes.
And that is, one, slowing you down, and two, being somewhat disheartening. And so there's this gap. Cheryl's feeling good. She wants to help get Jenny back up. In the race, and now they'll form four. So if they can pull these four along, they'll have a little bit of an advantage, right? And PTZ had that earlier.
Yes,
so
they did.
I think that you want to see Vixen here sort of utilize this as well and try and pull that time back. But they've got to work in a coordinated fashion, which is, I think, harder on Zwift than it is in real life. But maybe that's just because I did it for years and years in real life. Now on Zwift, we can be pretty good at it as well.
You're not kidding. We're starting to see more animation at the front of this men's race as Jaro Nefkins from Race WBR, pushes to the front again. They're about to come over the top. People like to really kick it in the afterburners into gear here to try to get just a little bit of a gap, make the people at the backside of this thing work. And maybe there's a little bit of pride coming over the top. Not a PR for most of these guys, but only by a millisecond by comparison to last time. We'll see it. It'll roll over here in a minute to give their individual 30-day PR for Jaro Nefkin. We'll be very interested to see it. Where is this in his hierarchy? Power drop. Harry Roberts, the Kiss B rider, complains in open chat. That stinks. Lemire hangs on to that polka dot jersey, which he earned last time up the road. And looks like they're still together in this men's group 2 times over the climb, 3 more to go. It'll be even more interesting to me to see if Team Poland is just hanging on for the escape velocity move, or if they've got some strategy in the middle here to maybe try to get Szerzynski off the front, Nefkins try to chase him down. I'm guessing at this point, to me, with as much time as Nefkins has spent on the front of this thing, he appears to be, to me, the stronger rider. Now, Szerzynski, KG veteran, could very well just be hanging in there. That's not part of his race plan. But based on the evidence that you've seen, Frank Garcia, what do you think is on the mind of Team Poland? What are they trying to accomplish?
I think this is a fairly straightforward tactical play today for them. They are just going to cover Nefkins each and every time. I would even let him go a little bit on the climb, up to 5 to 10 seconds. Look to pull that back on the flats and on the descent as a group. Stay together as a group. Use your power in numbers against the power of the legs in Nefkins. And then what Szerzynski showed us last week in splendid form was I might not have the most power in the sprint, but I know how to sprint. I know how to time it, and I'm going to go by you across the line.
You know, what makes this course particularly interesting is that we joke all the time, it's a downhill sprint, right? There is
And
very
let me
little.
call
Yeah.
your attention to the women's race just for a moment, because I think something very, very exciting going on here. So we now see Barbado at about 3.5 watts per kilogram, and we see Mattis back here, who's been doing, I wouldn't call it rest exactly, and you see the heart rates skyrocketing here, but she's holding a little bit more than Barbado, and she could pull back a lot of time. They're only about 30 seconds. It's compressed here on the climb, but they're doing a fantastic job. We've got 4 people, and I think they just need to bide their time. They just need to keep Jenny on their wheel. This group of 4, if they get to the top, will gain some time again, and we've got a long way to go. We're 15 kilometers into a 46-kilometer race. We've got quite a bit of time to pull those people back. It's going to be a very interesting race, very tactical, both at super high heart rates. So they're all in, and it's going to become endurance. Is going to become a factor in today's race, unlike it does in a lot of Zwift races. So these 5 climbs, you're going to be doing this for over an hour. And endurance, who's got better endurance? Because I think it's going to come down in the ladies' race to who has more endurance.
Also, I point out a couple of things. They're not doing Jenny Mattis any favors by letting her trickle off the back like that. Her watts dropping significantly right now. She's not going to be able to pull it back if she's not part of a team. They've got to just almost hit the brakes and stop pedaling for a moment and pull her in. This extra work. I
think what Cheryl was doing there was trying to stay with those 2 other riders so that they could get that advantage on the downhill. So I think that that's what she was thinking. And you got to love the heart here. Jenny's like, okay, I'm going to go right on by, and I'm going to try and keep this up, and I'm going to try and claw my way back to these riders. And anybody who's been at the limit, on the rivet as we call it in cycling, knows that it's so hard to push yourself at that point. And if you do, sometimes it's game over. Engine room shuts down, overheated, and so they're doing a masterful job here of trying to stay in contact.
Yeah, they are. They've definitely got to make sure that Jenny is on that wheel at all times. You cannot waste energy in this. You'll never catch the PTZ duo if you're spending way too much energy than you need to. Now, as we came up and started launched into the S's here, we saw another just kind of big push. And for a while there was a separation off the back of about half that group. Now, these are A racers. They can close that distance down. It wasn't a fatigue drop. It was just timing, and they found themselves. But if you look, there are 2 riders who are trolling the front of this race. They're side by side right now, Jaron Nefkins and Peter Szynski, and they are trying to stay together in this. Well, they are trying to get away from each other, but neither will let it happen. And that is the character of this race. As they come down through Sprint Village here, Sprint Town, in just a moment, they come across the bridge. They're going to have in sight for them that climb. It's not the hard climb. It's nothing like the Epic KOM. It's nothing like the Tower. But at pace, man, it's hard, especially from Hanks until you get into the tree line again up there. This is the character of these really cool CVR postseason races and these brackets, which are building up to give us a winner in this A, B, C, and D men's and women's separate brackets. You're watching right now Jaron Nefkins and Piotr Szynski duking it out in the men's A race. And you are watching Jenny Mattis try to climb back in, Team Vixen with her compatriot there, back to Team PTZ and Anna Barbado. And I don't know
so close to those
do it.
2. They've got to catch them. I mean, if Jenny has anything left, she's got to let Cheryl claw back onto those. That's their best shot at climbing back to the 2 PTZ riders in the front. Anna's got a good position. She's got the commanding position, but the question is, does she have the endurance to last the entire race?
And in the chaos of the start, they got separated on the first lap, and this has always been a little bit of a gap. But it was at one point as low as 4 seconds, at another point as high as 50-some seconds, but she is clawing it back right now. It looks to be to me, sorry, I take that back. It looks to be about a minute and a half. That's misleading right here because it measures that distance overall, right? And it calculates how long will it take these folks to get to those folks or vice versa. And but of course, one came over and went downhill. You'll notice that gap shrink dramatically. I think it probably drops right back down to about 40 seconds, about the time that they start climbing out of town here.
But you're also starting to notice a little bit of yo-yoing by Anna. That tight wheel to wheel, I'm holding on, maybe putting out a little bit too much power because I'm staying right on the wheel here in Zwift, is starting to give way to, I think I'll let that wheel go and figure out what the absolute minimum is I have to output, but then you get the gaps. But the nice thing about the teamwork is, your teammate isn't going to leave you. You can play that game. You can figure out what the minimum is because it's not like you're on the wheel of a competitor who's just going to, as soon as they get that gap, hammer it and really put you into a spot of bother. Here, you've got the confidence that they're going to stick with you.
Yeah, Barbado with another gap a little bit off the back. Jenny Mattis, Team Velocity Vixens with her teammate Cheryl Muldoon right there. Cheryl is now on her wheel. I don't think that's a gap. I think that's still zeroed out. Maybe it's just a little bit. But you can see Muldoon there just a little bit back in time with her Scratch Labs. You can watch any of these folks on CycleView, CVRWorldCup.com, right? CycleView.CVRWorldCup.com, and you can select the riders you want to watch. You can watch Jenny Mattis's stream. You can watch Cheryl Muldoon's stream. You've got lots of choices there.
Well, and I think what's amazing here, just let me move this up. We've been talking about Anna and Jenny, and here we've got Cheryl, who I think wasn't going to even be able to get on, and she's got a pain cam going on here, and she is all in for her teammate, right? She has given everything she can, time and time again. And that's what teamwork is all about. Sometimes you sacrifice yourself and you do all that you can, and then they're having a tough time making a decision. Do you wait? Do you go? How panicked do you get by Anna being up the way? But one of the things that we can see here in our 4 view is everybody's suffering, right?
Yes, everybody is in a lot of pain. Jared Nefkin, by the way, doing what he's done before as they pass Hanks to come up by the statues. He digs hard. He knows he's got an advantage here. He likes going uphill. He's a rocket. He wants to break the atmosphere. He wants escape velocity. Skinner says, not today, my friend. I'm afraid I'm going to do what I need to do to get off the front. Szerzynski, though, marking him right behind him. Lemire, all right there. Just a couple of seconds now as Szerzynski even moves just right on the tail of Nefkin right there. Jaro Nefkin, a great route to get here, upsetting some really well-known riders along the way. He wants to advance, but he is up against Team Poland in this case. So Szerzynski, a different path. We know that the Brett Boniface was deleted, was defeated. You know what? This is a virtual game. He can be deleted early on by Eric Hung. Nefkins beat him. He beat a number of other folks along the way to get here. And even to be in this position, he had to put himself through 8 weeks of season to even qualify for this stage. He's been doing a lot of racing, and he is dang good. Okay, Cheryl Muldoon, now on her own. Just as I say that,
and that's why I pulled this back. She is absolutely putting an all-in effort for her teammate. Yeah. These are things you cannot do just for yourself. I just very, very few people who can do that, but so many people can just turn themselves inside out, get 2 extra beats per minute out of their heart and keep it up for a teammate, right? You see what's happening. You see that the other rider might be fading a little bit, and energy comes back. It's amazing the teamwork that we've seen in the postseason. This is such great stuff to watch.
Oh boy.
And go ahead.
Oh no! Here's what I was going to say: is it's very interesting. There's less than a kilometer now that separates the Mattis group from the Barbado group, and that is actually shrunk a little bit. If you've been watching closely, so don't think in terms of time at this point. Think in terms of distance. They are closing down that distance, and it looks like they're going to be able to possibly catch them. This is their third time up the climb. They may have had all the kicks in the world to get them away from them and to keep that gap, but can they sustain it? Is the energy consumption of Madison Muldoon better? Is it more efficient? Oh, we're seeing lots of pain. There he goes. Jaron Nefkins deciding he wants to get off the front again. WBR is his team, but he's alone, being chased by Team Poland. And there he is coming off the front, head down. I wonder if that was the way it was in real life too. He makes sure that he gets a big gap off the front. Sometimes you can create interesting little gaps in a group right here by creating a tear or make your teammate work.
Tactically, that is not making any sense to me, because you've got Team Poland, unless he's trying to, separate out Team Poland. And as long as there's, and I see several Polish flags here, so that doesn't make any sense to me. That's just burning a match. And Team Poland smiles to itself and says, please do that all day long. Put deaden your legs a little bit for us, because we're going to pull you back every time. We're going to be patient. We're going to be calm, and we are going to own you at the end if you burn all your matches going over the top of a hill.
Well, let's take a look at Szerzynski. We know that Nefkins has brought his heart rate down to about 170. Where's our guy Szerzynski? What kind of pain is he in presently in the heart rate category? Okay, about the same. They've recovered well. Maybe there was a little bit to look at when they came up and over, but that's got to be Nefkins' play here. Can I possibly separate a couple of these folks off the back? Madison Muldoon, they're together.
Speaking of heart rate pain, we're over 180, and you definitely see it. I love the lighting that Cheryl has going here, matching the Velocity Vixen colors.
Yep.
But
she's got it.
She's not having an easy day of it by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. And thanks to her for being willing to give us a look into her pain cave and into the heart of darkness, as it were, as she suffers for her teammate Jenny Mattis in this. Now, we are watching both of them on the bottom half of the screen, the women's A race. This is a head-to-head race. If you're just joining us, you can select different riders to watch, of course, on CVR World Cup. That would be cycleview.cvrworldcup.com. You can search it. You can just type it in the chat and you'll find it, or the search bar rather. Now, Barbado has been able to put together quite a bit with her teammate there. This is now less than a kilometer. The 0.8 is what it looks like now. That gap continues to fall. Let's see what they can do, of course, on the climb, which is coming up. Now, the Jaro Nefkins group, they have made that climb 3 times. They're heading out onto the 4th lap now. This will be the 4th time that they have ventured up this climb. And it's a little ways away. But will all of the efforts that Nefkins has put out, will they actually allow him to escape, or will they stack up and cause a great deal of pain for himself when Team Poland decides to finally pull the trigger on Order 66, right? Well, which is the destroy all the Jedi.
Yes, I think this is the point in the race where all of the racers are used to going up the hill this time and it being over. And they're starting to wonder who in their right mind, I don't know who that could possibly be, came up with the idea to do 5 laps around Watopia Hilly today in the reverse direction. But they're starting to appreciate that now. And we saw, for instance, Kopse earlier today, the amazing effort. I think he practically fell off of his bike. His head hit the keyboard, knocked his camera out. He put in an amazing effort. And that's one of the great things about cycling. It's not just, it's an endurance sport. It's got power in it, though, as well. So it really has aspects of both.
It does. And what's impressive to me really has been the teamwork applied by people in this race. Sometimes your teammate is one, as you see at the bottom here with Jenny Madison, Cheryl Muldoon over on the left side. And then on the bottom, you've got Anna Barbado and her teammate, Anthony Jones, working together to try to keep this race under wraps. Their distance continues to fall. Now it'll stretch open a little bit here as the Mattis Muldoon group climb, but it looks like they've picked up possibly a compatriot if that person is willing to work for them. What they need to do at this point is they need to look at those watts per kilo, and they need to try to keep the watts per kilo of their opponents slightly lower than their own watts per kilo based on the similar overall the grade here. Now, we're seeing just a little bit more animation up above with Szerzynski and Nefkins, but they're staying near the front. So this is a good time. This is a good time to ask you, Frank. There is a big event coming up this weekend. It's organized grassroots, but there's a group of people that are going to virtual Everest, right? And there are rules for virtual Everesting, but you hold the distinction of being the first person to virtual Everest. What the heck is virtual Everesting?
Madness, insanity. So that's my first thoughts that come to mind when someone talks to me about virtual Everesting. I was obviously in the throes of my Zwift addiction to attempt such a thing. But what it is climbing the number of feet or meters, if you will, of from sea level to the top of Mount Everest on a bike. And the way that you do it is it's a little bit hard to do that on Everest itself. So you pick a hill, you go to the top, and for me, it was the front side of Watopia Hilly, actually just halfway up.
Really?
And then you would turn around and you just keep repeating that over and over and over for like 17 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And shortly after starting, as in 30 minutes, you wonder why you do it. About 12 to 15 hours in, people who are coming to help you get yelled at for the smallest of transgressions. And then you just go into a place of sheer misery and pain and just wait for it all to be over.
Oh my goodness.
So that is virtual Everesting in a nutshell. I think to anybody who wants to try it, I recommend being very fit and having lots of support. My family was awesome, but that's what I recommend.
Wow, that is insane. We're seeing some interesting things happening here in the women's race. The men continuing to throw back and forth, but on the bottom half of our screen here, we have the women's race. And Jenny Mattis has actually lost contact 4 seconds back of her teammate, Cheryl Muldoon. Both Team Vixen there. There's even someone in the mix here. She needs to climb back in that group, but she's not doing the effort right now, the overall watts per kilo, to be able to hold that. Barbado holding above that.
This might be an interesting play by Cheryl, who might be going up there and just trying to convince these couple of riders to, and we see here a little bit time back, trying to slow them down a little bit and get a big group going over the top of the hill and get Jenny to come back up to it. This could be a very interesting tactical play from someone who is obviously doing this on purpose, right? I mean, it's 183 on the heart rate. She's not off there dropping Jenny, just cause, right?
Right. Exactly.
I think there's definitely a method to this madness. I don't know if it'll work, but it's an interesting gambit. It's something we get to see in the postseason we don't normally get to see.
And you see she's about halfway through this thing. When you look at that bar at the top, lap 3 of 5, the men coming now down over that bridge, getting ready to go their 4th time up. Now, in previous, there have been fewer fireworks on this 4th time up. They've realized that they've spent quite a bit. They may be trying to conserve just a little bit more. And that's kind of tricky. Now, as we get ready to do this, I'm going to gather a little data as we work here about the distance between really true distance between Jenny Madison and Anna Barbado. So I'll give you that in just a moment. But this will be very interesting. Jaro Nefkins, assuming his rocket spot, which he likes to do, he moves a little bit to the back of the group. He kicks it up. He sees some guys going. Szerzynski is one of those guys. This is a gap that he doesn't want to take it. Doesn't want to lose. Szerzynski's got to get on the wheel right there. Jaro Nefkin's doing a nice job of pulling himself back to this lead group. Will people be lost? There is another Team Poland rider that is in the back of this group. He could get dropped off the back, but Szerzynski is finding himself in a bad spot. You got to move up, my man. Lemire is going to take them off the front of this group. Krzywanis looks to be off in the back of this group now, not able to hang in. And the gap continues to grow between these two men. Szerzynski has got to do everything he can to not lose the thread here. He's got to grip that little thing and hold on for dear life. Think of it as a water ski rope, my friend. Hold on to the rope. No matter what, you'll lose your trunks, you'll lose your ski. It doesn't matter because the rope is attached to the boat, and he's going to be able to pull himself back in. His heart rate has rung the bell, it would appear. And he's just going to just sit in and do what he can. Jaro Nefkins also right there in the back of that group. They're racing each other, but they also realize the benefit of these two. So who's going to do it? Who's going to close the gap here? Looks like it's going to be Nefkins. He puts in a dig here, and not a gentle dig. He tries to get Szerzynski off his wheel, and this could be a big move right now. If Szerzynski can't close that distance, if he can't pull it back together, no, he could be off the back. He has got to be careful. That is not part of his fuel reserve that he is okay being without.
Interesting tactical plays, Chris, on that. First of all, not sure why Team Poland. I like the aggression, but I think their attack actually played into Nefkin's hands because I do think he probably has the stronger legs on the climb. And then Nefkin's pulling away or trying to pull away back up to that front group where you had a Team Poland rider who would obviously just sit up at that point and go back and get Piotr. So two interesting tactical plays there, which I think were some matches that didn't need to be burned. But let's see if they show me how it's supposed to be done. But very interesting tactical play there. I'm not sure I follow it.
Yeah, and the other tactical play that I think is really interesting is Nefkins allowed a gap to form between that front trio. I think he offered it up to his competitor and said, Piotr, do you want to take that? Do you want to close that? Szerzynski did not reply. Maybe a language barrier, maybe a pain barrier. Was not able to do it. Grumpy Pat also in this group, but he did not take it. And then instead of saying, okay, it's me, Nefkins did a sprint acceleration and tried to slam the door on Szerzynski. He closed the gap much faster than Piotr did. And because of it, maybe he did a little bit more work than he needed to, than he wanted to. That is entirely possible. Coming up over the top here, I don't think we're going to see any PRs or a change in the jersey, but we could. There's been quite a few fireworks since Hanks here when the clock starts as we come through. Nope, no records being shown here. This was a slower climb than previous. I don't think we're going to see that on the next one unless there's a gap there. Okay, the real gap between Mattis and and Muldoon here. Rather, Mattis and Barbado is about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That is now growing a little bit more. It was much closer when on the wheel of Muldoon, but it looks like she is struggling to stay with her compatriot. Muldoon just up ahead a ways. As I look at, no, I take that back, on her wheel, just behind her a little bit. Mattis appears to actually, my calculation may have been wrong there. They're back together. In fact, they are back together. So we did briefly talk about the other women's race happening here, Sandra Deegan and Amy Fowler. And it looks like that gap is growing. Sandra Deegan dropping the hammer on Amy Fowler. Maybe just handed her a basket of rocks and said, welcome to the neighborhood, sister. And Fowler had to carry those rocks up the climb. Sandra Deegan putting some real time on her. And as you look at the watts per kilo and the heart rate, some real effort on her to boot. That B race, barring a mechanical, heaven forbid, John Mayfield forbid, that was probably how it's going to end up here. Now, Nefkins and Szerzynski still in the same group. They've just about to come under the banner for the last time as rivals. The next time they come under the banner, they will be former rivals, because one will be advancing in the bracket and one will be going home. Coming up very soon, the culmination of many of these events. Now, not all of these races per se, but the folks that are going to be joining us in Los Angeles, the World Cup. That would be the CVR World Cup Major in Los Angeles, March 24th and 25th. Those are coming up in just a couple of weeks, and you can come out and watch it, of course, on the right there at the StubHub Center, the Velodrome. You can also join us on the broadcast, where myself and Beth York will be bringing you many of the action. And you know what? Not the only one. Lots of your favorite folks. Hunter Allen also on the desk there, telling us what in the world is going on in these bodies. Jen Mattis is now part of a little group here. I wonder if the gap is not too great at this point, but they've got a team going together. What can they do on the last lap? Is there a possibility? You don't want to go away, because you'll miss that possibility. Now, Nefkins and Szerzynski still together in this group. Szerzynski there on the front. But as we look around, Frank, I do not see that collection of teammates that Szerzynski had at the ready. They look to just kind of be hanging on behind just a few meters on the back. And I'm not sure if that's fatigue, that they're not leading this charge, marking Nefkin and making sure that there's a long line of riders that Szerzynski can use to climb back up to Nefkin. But they find themselves kind of on the back side of this thing. What's going on in the strategy for Team Poland here? And do we think that there's a chance that those three riders working together can beat Jaro Nefkins at the end of this race on the last lap?
I think what they're trying to communicate here is we're just going to cover this time. Now, if I was them, what they may have been doing tactically before with the surge is what they may be looking to do is surge at the bottom of the climb this time and get Nefkins to go super hard. Then just cover his maybe even give him 5 seconds so he continues to work hard. That's something that we would do in Team X as an example. Get the people to just go all in to try and win right there, knowing that we've got them in control. We can control them. We can get them on the downhill or right as we get to the top of the climb, and then beat him in the sprint because he's deadened his leg. So we'll see. We're about to find out right now.
So let me ask you a question, and we're getting to that point, about to come up and over and through Sprint Town for the last time across that bridge. A little bit of a gap. Nefkin digging up there, but no one's going to get away. Szerzynski right there in that group. He's got his teammates to shepherd him to the front here. Nefkin taking another little opportunity to try to escape here. They have got to respond at this point. Unless they believe that they can power pull him back. He's deadly strong, Nefkin is. And there may be a little bit of fear in this group that we just can't let him get away. They responded awful quick. I like the idea of baiting him out. Let him have a few seconds. We know that we can pull it out. Let him commit everything to the belief that this was the move, right? Not just another move. I would have to believe that even that move right there was just another attempt to soften up the legs of Team Poland, specifically Szerzynski. But
I want to call your attention to something that's happening in the women's race here as well. Anna, I think, is starting to fade, and she may have enough of a lead at this point. She's got about a kilometer. That's about 2 minutes. But wow, if she starts to fade big time, this could be some serious problems as we head towards that climb. And they've still
Right.
got, I think they've still got 2 climbs left in the women's race. So that could be quite challenging. Be interesting to watch that one as it plays out.
Well, the men's race is heating up, but no one's getting away. You know what? If we can roll over and take a quick look at the stream of Jen Mattis, we'll have the answer that we're looking for. These races are certainly at a different pace. But as we look, actually, as the stream of Jen Mattis with her pain face, her beautiful pain cave, with the purple, we can get a view from exactly what she sees, which includes the number of laps. So it doesn't show. Well, there it is, lap 4 of 5. So you're right. They've got to come up and over that climb 2 times. The men,
Ouch. I say ouch.
No kidding. So that's a great question. Can Barbado, and she's hitting the bottom of that climb right now, can she do it? Mattis finds herself kind of now waiting for her teammate and the also ran that's in that group. But Nefkins finds himself with his nose in the wind, and Team Poland very savvy, just making sure that they are in contact with him. Now you can't in this game control the position of your bike, but there's a lot of belief that cone, if you will, of aerodynamics extends out to the side. But you do have to be careful of the positioning of your bike. If you overlap wheels, there's a characteristic where you'll drift out to the side and definitely remove yourself from the aerodynamic advantage of the group. Ooh, they moved through there. They just passed Madison Muldoon. That would have been an opportunity if they could have put together just even 2-3 minutes of just suffer. They could have used that powertrain to maybe climb back on. They should look at that opportunity because you know that there are other men's A riders coming by. Hop on those elevators and maybe chase that foe down just in front of you. Barbados in that group. Szerzynski hanging in the back here. Nefkins in front of him. Who is going to make the first move? Here's my question to you as we get ready for this exciting finish, Frank. What is going to happen? Does the first of these 2 riders over the top of the climb, do they win it? If you're first over the top of the climb, are you the favorite to win it?
I think you'd have to have probably an 8 to 10 second gap, and you would have to be able to continue your effort pretty much all the way to the line. And so I think there are people out there who can put in a 5-minute VO2 max effort. So
Scotty
it's possible, but it's gutsy.
Kim Little?
Kim Little, I once got beat that way by a gentleman by the name of Kevin Connors.
Yes.
And we weren't, highfalutin A's, but it was nonetheless a fun race. That was back in the early days when we used to just line up. We didn't have starting pins and events and all those sorts of niceties. But we've got an attack going off here off the front.
Yes, we do. And it is the teammate. This is really interesting. This could backfire on Team Poland. It is the teammate of Szerzynski. And he actually lets Nefkins kind of get there. He backs it off, says,
They're definitely baiting. They're definitely wanting him to deaden his legs for the sprint. That was definitely a setup. If you're Nefkins, I do not know why you chase that. I would chase Piotr if he tried to bridge it, but I would definitely not chase that
there
guy.
He is. There he goes. Right then and there, just digging it off the front, trying to get some reaction out of his compatriot. To your point, and again, the names can be at times a little bit confusing. More skis than an alpine village in this, and you have to wait until the whole thing so you can figure out, is it Szerzynski? Is it Truzinski? It is. It's Szerzynski is sitting in the back there. Truzinski, his teammate, at the front there. And Nefkin is struggling to figure out who to follow here. Maybe there's a little bit of a language barrier, but he's chasing the wrong Zinski in this case, and that can be dangerous. Ooh, even more dangerous coming through a group of socks, as it were. The extra characters that are disposable in a story like this, and he's right there. They're doing a good job of keeping him in it, but we see 2 Polish flags in this group, and the Nefkins solo rider. But they're about to actually catch Barbado in about 10 seconds here, 10 seconds behind. Martel, who's been hanging in with this group for a bit, decides he'd like to maybe have his name on the podium. I'm not sure if he's working for somebody else. Could be a Confederate in this case, but maybe not. And Trzynski jumps to the front. Szerzynski here in the back, just doing a little 1-2, 1-2 with Jaro Nefkins. But he says, you know what? It is my turn to do this. And he may try to create a gap here. As Miller comes by, that's the wheel he wants to jump on, but Nefkin doesn't respond. This will be very, very curious. I'll be curious to find out if there's any correlation with Nefkin's finish at the top here and what Team Poland can do to line out this finish. He's lost a teammate by my estimation. There's only 2 now, Trzynski and Szerzynski in this for the Team Poland duo here, and the other is off the back.
What heart Piotr has. Great upset last week. He's a 4 seed going against a 2 seed here. And here we go.
Big dig, Skinner. Lemire decide that they want to animate this. Can we get a little gap? Nefkin says, I'd like a little gap from these guys, and he's not getting it. He's on the wrong side of this gap. They attack over the top. That is a Nefkin's rule, straight out of page 3. And as he comes under the tree, he's still trying to close this gap back. His heart rate, 167, probably soon to be 180 or 70 beats per minute, trying to close this gap down. Those guys are still drilling it on the front. But as you can see, 7.5 watts per kilo doesn't buy you as much real estate downhill as it does going uphill. Nefkin easing it up just a little bit. He's letting this gap grow. 3 seconds to Trzynski, who's emptying his fuel tank, his reserve, to get his wingman home. And
at
doing
5 seconds, this is going to get very interesting.
Yes, it is.
Nefkins needs to go. Go hard.
Yep, Nefkin's probably waiting for when he can get the maximum effect out of his legs. And I think we should stay right here on Nefkins because we'll know everything we need to know in this race based on what he does. The race WBR rider lining it up right now. We see his RPM click a little bit lower suddenly from 92 to 85, now 87. He appears to be ramping it up. We're going to see this really kick up. And it's 6 seconds right now. They are not slowing down at all, and he is not ramping it up. He's got to empty the tank right now, or he is not going to have any chance there. They are putting time.
What a brilliant tactical move.
Oh, my goodness. They did. I don't think there's a chance. Nefkins, he doesn't look like he's going to make the effort to get there. 5 watts per kilo. He's actually backing it off. That says to me that Szerzynski, with the help of his teammate, Trzynski, managed to sprint this off the front. Trzynski pulls to the side, lets Szerzynski slide to the front. Oh, and Miller comes around him.
That's just adding insult to injury. Insult to injury. Not nice.
No kidding. He stole the Cliff Bar out of his back pocket when he did it too, and said, "I'll be eating this, brother. You don't need it." Oh my goodness. Yep. As they come through. Now we're looking at Fowler right now in this women's race, and back then to Mattis. Fowler, of course, finds herself off the back of that B race. She's doing a great job, but it doesn't look like she's going to catch her compatriot today. Not far behind her is Barbado, who is the PTZ rider, also with a little team for her. But the interesting part with Barbado is that she is now 2.5 minutes in front of Muldoon. Any chance she can catch on the last lap? Yes, she's fading a little, but not that much.
Well, I think I think my tactical commentary has been off all day. I will get recalibrated tomorrow. But a couple of things that I've seen is Team Poland going, don't like our tactics. Let us show you how it's done, Garcia. So I thought that was just a brilliant tactical play. I think they did bait Nefkins into overworking himself. Maybe he was a little overconfident. He was certainly very strong. And now you see Anna saying, I wasn't fading. I was just taking a little bit of a tactical break,
Yep.
setting up for the last lap, making sure that I could put time into them at the beginning of that lap to break the spirit, right? To
Yep.
remove all hope is usually what you're trying to do there, because a
Yes.
person with hope is a very dangerous person
Yes.
in terms of a competitor.
You're not kidding, and she definitely has played her cards right during this second half of this race. She did back it off just a hair to give herself the really the opportunity to recover, and that is really really smart play in that respect. Now, here's what is interesting. Now, Szerzynski advances with the help of teammates and great work. He's going to take on Yone Gravdal, right? They are in very different time zones. This will be interesting to see what. Hopefully, they'll come into one of our zones, one of the zones that we call, to deliver that race to us. But that will take place next week. Gradval versus Szerzynski for the championship, and you can guarantee that anybody with a rooting interest is going to be on a bike, seeing if they can help as the zones line out. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things the CVR team has been hard at work is working with the riders to find a time zone, right? It's a global league. This isn't, everybody's racing in their hometown. This is, well, actually, everybody is racing in their hometown. And everybody hasn't gone to one person's hometown, I guess is a better way to say it.
Right.
And the coordination becomes an interesting play, but the CVR team has done an outstanding job, thanks to Vanessa and Kayla, for putting together some outstanding coordination and getting the teams being able to race. But it is a challenge. You can be 12 hours apart, right?
Yes, yeah, you can easily, and it's a great world race, which normally people would just give up on the idea of, because how do you put something like that together? It's so difficult, but they've done it, and they deserve all the credit in the world. This is a pretty ambitious project, a moonshot of sorts, which I'm a big fan of moonshots in general. And
well, I think
yeah, go ahead.
I think, Chris, a couple of interesting things. It has been, interesting. We're certainly, innovating, trying out new things. We knew that it would be a challenge to get the riders together. But look, these riders have done Vanessa has done a fantastic job coordinating them, but in the end, it's the riders that have to ride at 3:00 in the morning their time, or
yes.
9 at night, which I'm not sure which is worse, but both of those are bad times to race.
Bad times to race.
And so it's been interesting to watch how that plays out. And it's so interesting. Esports is so exciting. I was talking to you earlier today as we were getting set up for some of the stuff that we're doing and trying to get the technology ironed out, and then up the game in terms of the content. But you're talking about some stuff that was going on at Boise State, and if I can have a little bit of latitude, I'll talk a little bit about that. And you started talking about coaches for your esports team at Boise State, and I just thought, that's how innovation and industry works, how it fosters things. Now we're talking about having people, not only players, not only esports, and we see it happening in Zwift too. You see, professional coaches coming to the fore. You see teams coming to the fore in Zwift. Innovation sparks innovation. It sparks changes, and I think it's a very exciting time to be able to see those changes.
It is. If you think about this, coaching in esport is a completely global thing. My coaches for different games this year have been, and I'm not making this up, a League of Legends coach that is in Australia, yet participates in our coaching sessions. Another League of Legends coach who's on the East Coast in the Boston area. A Heroes of the Storm coach who is in Toronto, Canada. You get the idea. It's all over the place. Our staff is New Jersey, Arizona, so many different areas coming together to be able to participate in this. But the internet allows this to be, which is fabulous. So cool. It's an exciting time. This is the perfect example of competitive esport meeting competitive physical sport, where it's not just about the clicks and your knowledge of the game and your strategy and reading your opponent, but actually what your body can produce. And that is so fun to watch. And as we see Cheryl Muldoon, you can see what her body can produce. And that apparently is more than an hour of 180 beats per minute plus. And at this point, quite a bit of perspiration. That is a towel that is well used. She's been at it for a bit as she does everything she can for her teammate. Now, they may not be able to pull back the time necessary, but it doesn't matter for her. She's going to give her a great finish nonetheless.
And what a workout, right? I mean, this is not the kind of workout you go to the gym and can kind of get yourself to do. And I used to, consider myself to be pretty good about going to the gym and making the efforts. But there is nothing like making an effort for a teammate. You go a little deeper, you go a little longer. And the good news is, even on a day like today where maybe your team doesn't cross the line first, but Vixen is getting stronger today, right? Team Vixen, Velocity Vixen is getting stronger today. Cheryl is getting stronger today. Jenny is getting stronger today. And this will lead to better and better racing as we go forward, right? Stronger and stronger people. I am so excited to see the teamwork out here today. People are doing 180 beats per minute. If I did this right now, I just fall off my bike at about 40 minutes. Go into the fetal position and just whimper. I remember when I was fit and when I was racing that sometimes the efforts that are made are so huge and so big by people, and I just think it's fun to watch. It's I think what's going to make cycling esports physical esports, right? Cyclogen is about physical esports. I think that's what it's going to make it exciting, to watch as time goes on.
Very, very true. Now, just a real quick question. As it relates to Cheryl Muldoon, where is Vivian Workman on the course? That's who she was up against today in Women's C. I have not spotted her on the course in a bit. As we look across the group here, Workman up ahead of her 3+ minutes, but I'm not sure if we've now flipped that. 3+ minutes now behind for Vivian Workman. It could be one or the other. Not entirely sure. As we get ready to run down how this all came out today. We think
I can help you out there, Chris. We're looking at live results from CycleData, cycledata.cvrworldcup.com, and we can see that it looks like Vivian's a lap behind, basically.
Okay.
In terms of about 8 kilometers or so back from Cheryl.
Okay, that's helpful to know as we kind of talk about what these advancements are going to be like moving on to the next bracket. There's a lot of pride on the line here for these teams because they want to get their superstar, their friend, their compatriot on the podium at the end of this thing. Now, when you suggested this, did you have an idea that people were going to be as invested in this as they become?
I did, actually. I think that people love to race, and when that environment can be, really engaging, it can be a positive experience. I think you just the amount of effort you're putting in, right? It's almost like hazing. In a fraternity, and I'm anti-hazing in a fraternity, everybody. But my point is it builds camaraderie when you suffer together. This is positive
Yes.
suffering, the kind of way that you do, and then you start to become a little bit more committed each week, right? You sort of get reeled in, and then at the end, before you know it, you're doing a race at 3 o'clock in the morning, and your entire family thinks you're completely nuts. And that's
Yes.
when we're very excited.
Now, Carrie Conabear just chiming in to Cheryl Muldoon, giving her a ride on, and that means a lot. That's a special golden ride on, not the blue plastic ones that fall into your backpack. Because Carrie Conabear is going to be in Los Angeles as part of that group. So if we could, I'd love to just have a quick discussion with the few minutes that we have left here. And maybe if those graphics are easily available, take a peek at who is already slated to join the group in Los Angeles here in less than 2 weeks. There we go. So in the men's bracket here. Now, this is not all because there are a couple of more invitees here, but Soren Bay, Matthew Gardner, Sadeo Ikebi. How do you say that last name? Ikebi?
However I say it is wrong.
Okay. Ikebi. Sorry, Dan Netzer. We know that name. Matthew Drujean, Casey Shum, Eric Sorensen, Mike Davis. Now, the invitees at this point, Kim Little and Adam Zimmerman. You can count on all of those racers being there. As you look at this group, my confidence is high with a guy like Matthew Drujean. I got to see him, of course, and shake his hand in Paris. Here's the rest of these folks. These are invitees as well. Tell us a little bit about the training winners. How did the training winners find themselves in there? Folks like Tim Norris and Ryan Goldenberg.
Well, it's an area that I'm really glad that you asked about, Chris. It is we do training competition, which is a little bit different than the racing competition. So you have the CVR World Cup League. That's all about racing. Strongest people make it to the World Cup. In the training environment, what we're looking for is people who train well. So you got to do some races, but you got to do your workouts. You got to do your group workouts. You have to improve. That's part of the scoring. And we created a ranking system on how well you train. And then we created power bands. So there's, sort of exceptional, excellent, good, fair, so on and so forth, that people fit into power bands. And you can kind of think of those as, Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3 kind of thing. And at the end, we randomly select a power band because this is about performance. It's not about who's strongest. It's about who trains the best. And then we take the top 10 people in that power band, and we take them to the World Cup. We also take them to a training camp in the winter season. So all these people that you see on the training side are going to also go to an in real life camp just outside of LA.
Very, very cool. Well, it'll be great to meet them, to shake their hand, and to get a sense of it. Now, on the women's side, we've got a lot of names that we know really well from these other ones. Anna Barbato, the rain has started coming down on the island. She's going to finish up shortly. She can coast to the end from here. I mentioned that name, Carrie Conabear. You'll see her in the Global Zone winners at the very top. She won Zone E. And Carrie was one of the ones giving a ride on to the women in this race here. She is invested in what's going on. Emily Joyner will be there. Beth York will be serving two roles there. She'll be racing and she'll be commentating. She'll be on the desk. Very excited about that. And I understand there's a desk. There's a bona fide real casting desk. I'm excited to see more about that. I was told that it arrived at CVR Global Headquarters today. Liz Rice also in that group. All right. Barbato about to finish here, which will put the capper on the semifinals of the postseason here for CVR World Cup League. And she's done a great job. She's had Anthony Jones shepherd the whole way. And that doesn't help you up much on a hill like that. pile, sushi salmon right there, decides to go for it. Will Jones take the bait? No. Jones is going to say, you know what? I'm here to serve one person, and there she is right there, Ana Barbado, who's going to take this women's A and advance to that. Now, finishing up her ride, Cheryl Muldoon. Oh, she's texting right now. Maybe she's commenting on the stream itself. That would be great to see as well.
Like Beth, she can obviously multitask. I don't know how Beth does it. She rides, she casts, and she probably texts too while doing both.
Yes.
My wife laughs at me all the time. I am a one-trick pony. I can do one thing at a time. And that's it. And you guys can probably tell that on stream because sometimes I'm off doing something, Chris, when you ask something or you ask me a question, and then there's just dead silence because I'm, focused on another task.
Yeah, she can do many different things. She can wipe the sweat off her brow. She can text. She can win a bracket. So also in this group, I think really important to point out the invitees here: Esther Masels, and of course Allison Kubota on the bookends there. What can you tell us about Allison and Gable?
Both are from California, and they will be more towards the performance category. Of course, you never know, right? That's why we have heat in LA. But if things go to form, as they say, you will see them more towards the performance bracket, whereas you see, Esther and Ellison obviously more towards the elite side of things. So we try and get the invitees to balance out in that way. It doesn't always happen, but that's what we're looking for. We should probably mention too that there will be some changes coming up to the spring season for the ladies. And we'll consolidate to 4 time zones because that's what they asked us to do. And so we'll be taking 2 from each of those zones, but have a few more ladies racing, together because we've cut down the division. And what we'll also be doing there as well is separating out the times of the races. So we'll have an hour and a half offset. So the men will go at a certain time, and then the women will go at a certain time. And that'll be the start times will be an hour and a half separate. Why? Quite easy. We want to be able to broadcast and because I'm a one-trick pony and I find it hard to pay attention to multiple things at a time, I would rather just focus on the women or the men at any given point in time. So a couple changes coming to the spring season of CVR.
Well, I've just checked with the latest poll, and you are forgiven for being a one-trick pony. She's about to come across the line, Muldoon, here to secure her victory. So if I can be so bold, even before she crossed the line, to give just a little bit of advancement in the men's B race. Zone A this morning, Stefan Lewendorf beat Arvels Vikström. In that same race, Yolanda Poez-Stefan, Team Fearless, beat her teammate, Rhonda Vetter, from that one. In the B race earlier today, Jone Gradval beat Joachim Plommers. In the C race, Anja Lewendorf beat Lisa Jane Leonard to advance. Also another Fearless rider. We've seen so many great Fearless riders. In that D race, Simon Nielsen beat Mike, Sezwaya. I said it wrong again. Of course, Mr. Bike Attorney. I don't have a score. We didn't get the Gemma Onkers and Jesse Whiteside's piece
Whitesides
yet.
took that one.
Okay.
Gemma got stuck at work. And
that's right. I did hear that piece. That is a bummer. That is called a work flat, which is different than a kid flat or a spouse flat. In the E race, we had Terry Sturr against Tommy Hatamaki. Tommy Hatamaki. That's just tricky.
You're just messing with me, right, Chris? I'm trying to follow on brackets on all of this stuff, and what I really needed was a graphic with all the winners for today. So for the next race today, I think I'll have that graphic.
I am just going down. I've marked all the races just on my sheet here, and I don't know who actually took that men's C bracket or Hatamaki.
Well, we'll get on Casey's case because I think he's supposed to give us the updates, isn't he? At least, I don't know if he's supposed to, but he has been, and we really thank him for it. But when he doesn't, we're like, huh? What? Where do we find that information? And I know where to find the information, but I guess I'm just too lazy.
Well, it's all right there, but yes, we can blame him for not getting us the thing that we never asked for.
Always blame the guy that's not here.
Exactly. Come on, Casey. See, Szerzynski beats Nefkins in the race that you just saw. Anna Barbado beats Jenny Mattis from Team Vixen. Sandra Deegan bested Amy Fowler and advances to the finals. Cheryl Muldoon beats Vivian Workman today from Team Fearless. You know, worth pointing out, they didn't get every race that they wanted to today. In fact, it looks like they only got one for Team Fearless. But there were 7 Team Fearless women in races today, 6 all across the world. And that is impressive.
Well, and not only that, but I think they were also racing out in Women's Week races. I think there was some races or rides today. So busy day for the women, no doubt. We really appreciate them coming out and competing during that busy time as well here at CVR World Cup.
Very, very interesting. Well, it's been a fabulous one. We want to encourage you, if you have not been spending time on of course CycleView at CVR World Cup, start to get comfortable with that tool. It's going to give you access to the races in the way that you want to see them as we come up to this huge event. You can cheer for, can even contribute to the overall prize pool for that event. Very, very much coming up in the next little bit. Now, you and I have a couple hours off. And then we're going to come back and call another one of these races here shortly, aren't we?
Actually, I was going to say we don't have a couple of hours off. We've got about 34 minutes.
34 minutes it is.
34 minutes. Welcome to the time change on one half of the world, but not the other half. So we changed here in the U.S. The UK did not change. But that caused some squashing of the standard 3-hour separation, which will be back next week.
It's true, as people kind of organize. Okay, well, we can always blame Casey Shum for that, and anything else we can find in his absence. So
I'm pretty sure that he was at Parliament and in Congress when those bills were passed. So yes, I think we can blame him.
We can absolutely blame him. Okay, thanks again to Saris, Power Tap, Cyclops, Bike Fixation, Garneau, and Hunter Allen Training Peaks making this possible. We're going to give you lots more information on them and their cool initiatives coming up here. This has been fabulous to be able to broadcast this to you, and I am grateful to have been a part of it. Now, you're going to want to join us in, did you say 35 minutes or less for the culmination. We will have the brackets for you. You will know who's competing for the championship here shortly. So however you join us, are you in the car? Are you folding laundry? Are you on life support? And this is just what they're putting in front of you. It doesn't matter. We're glad you're here. On behalf of Frank Garcia, we're excited that you're joining us for this virtual racing, and can't wait to see you in just 29 minutes time. Thanks a lot. See you soon.